Dear students, in this video we are going to discuss about the aseptic area, the sources of contamination in aseptic area and how we can control these contamination in the aseptic area. So we have heard about the aseptic area as well as the sterile area. So whether these two terms are similar or these are different, this will be a question in everybody's mind. So let me answer this question that although they are having a similar concept or similar technique, that is to remove all the microorganism or the living microorganism from a product, tool or a room, but there is a difference between this aseptic area and the sterile area. Practically, aseptic means the removal of microorganisms like bacteria, viruses and other, and these will not be able to regenerate or reproduce. So this will be maintenance of the aseptic condition, while that of sterile means the complete removal of anything that is acting as a contaminant. So let it be microorganism or anything else, everything will be removed in case of sterile or sterility, we can say. That is complete removal of each and everything which will be acting as a contaminant, that will be removed from the process and the condition will be maintained as the sterile area. Now, sterile is acting like an attack, while that of aseptic involves a barrier. That is, complete removal of all the type of microorganisms is not possible in case of aseptic conditions or in such an area where there is no possibility to maintain the sterility, or sometimes there is a requirement of creation of aseptic areas, like when we are going to have the storage of the raw materials used for the sterile formulation, or we are going to keep the intermediate products or the containers used for the sterile manufacturing area. These will not be maintained in the sterile area, while that of area will be created which will be having the aseptic condition, and that area will be known as aseptic area. Now, aseptic conditions can involve the sterilization or sterile procedures, but sterile area cannot have only aseptic condition, that has to be sterile. So this will be basic difference between the sterile area and the aseptic area. There is a need for supporting clean areas, and these will be serving as a zone for the storage of non-sterile materials or components, in-process materials, equipment and the containers. Then there is a need to have a clean working environment to minimize the level of particle contamination in the sterile area or in the final product. So we have to ensure that clean areas are separated from the sterile areas, and here we have to maintain the aseptic conditions by providing the air supply, that air which is passed through the HEPA filters, so that the aseptic conditions or clean conditions are maintained in the aseptic area. Then we are going to focus on the sources of contamination. Basically, there are three different sources of contamination in the aseptic area. First one is the operator or personnel. So operators which are present as a supervisor, or they are actually operating, or they are performing any process of the formulation or evaluation, these operators are considered as a major source of contamination if the personnel is not properly trained, or although he is trained, he has not taken the training properly, it is having some lacking in the training, then that operator will be a major source of contamination. As well as operator or the personnel working there are having direct contact of the person's hand with the product. So it will be acting as a major source of contamination because the skin of the personnel is having the species like staphylococcus on the skin, and these will be considered as a source of contamination because these microorganisms will be the contamination in the product. Along with the skin, the hair, then mustache, or the hands or nose, mouth, these are also acting as a source of contamination because the nasal passage is also having some microorganisms like Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus albus, and Neisseria pharyngitis. So thus, the person can act as a source of contamination, so personal hygiene should be maintained. Or sometime it may happen that there will be skin infection, and this skin infection can lead to the contamination. So the person with the allergy or with skin lesions are not supposed to enter into the aseptic areas or the sterile areas as well. Then the second source is raw materials. Now the raw materials, if these are not matching with the standards, and although these are not matching with the standards, and if we are going to use such products, then these will be considered as a source of contamination because they are not fulfilling the standard values, so they may be contaminated with some other material or microorganisms. Sometimes the labels are not done properly on the raw material, so this may be leading to the cross contamination. That means one product is mixed with the other product, and this will be having the cross mix ups, or we can call it as a mix ups. So due to this, the particular both the products will be contaminated one with the another product. So such type of cross contamination can lead to the contamination, or this will be acting the raw material as a contaminated material one. Then sometimes the raw material is having some microbial contamination inside it, so this will be also acting as a raw material contaminated one. Or sometimes the source of raw material is also having some type of contaminations of the bacteria or some other chemical, so these must be removed from the raw material and then the raw material must be used. Or sometime the water may be also behaving as a source of contamination, so instead of using the plain water, the specific water type like sterile water for injection or water for injection, such type of waters will be used in the sterile area, as well as the distilled water can be used in the aseptic conditions or in the aseptic areas. Then comes is the equipment. Third point is the equipment. Suppose the equipment design is not proper and its size is also not proper, that it is not meant for easy cleaning. So due to that uneasiness of the equipment, there will be a point or corner where there will be accumulation of the product as well as the solvent used, and because of this accumulation of the material inside this equipment, these accumulated products can be behaving as a source of contamination. Along with this, sometime there will be degradation of the product due to these accumulated products, or sometimes this accumulation of one thing into the equipment is leading, or sometimes the material of the equipment is going to have the corrosion, and this corrosion can be behaving as a source of contamination. So here one major thing will be improper calibration of the equipment can also lead to the contamination. Or if we know that this particular equipment is not of that standard, or it is not of that much use, and still if we are using the same equipment for the procedure, then this will be behaving as a source of contamination. Now, along with this, we should know how to control the contamination by these sources. Okay. Now, when we are supposed to control the contamination. That means whatever sources now we have seen, these should not have the contamination in the aseptic area. So for that we have to go for, first one is to have the controlling of the contamination by having the clean rooms. Now clean room doesn't means that only a clean room is, that means it is only cleaned and we will indicate this as a clean room. No, clean room is a specific room. Here when we are considering the aseptic conditions or sterile conditions, then the clean room term indicates that it is supplied with the proper air or the standard quality air, that is the air is passed through the HEPA filters, and there are different classes of the clean areas like class A, class B, class C, class D. So these four classes, these we are going to learn in the next video. These classes, depending upon the operation, these classes are divided, and accordingly the air quality in a particular clean room is maintained. Again, along with this, we have to take care not only about the air, but whatever flooring, building, or the walls are considered, or doors, windows are considered, there we have to maintain the cleanliness majorly, so that normally also there should be cleaning and disinfection regularly, and whatever standard procedures are meant for the cleaning, these will be maintained in the clean areas. The floors or walls or the windows should not have the accumulation of dust or dirt, because this accumulation can lead to have the contamination. So as to avoid it, these surfaces should be clean, and these should be easy to clean or disinfect properly, as well as mostly instead of using the other material which are behaving as a source of contamination, or these are shedding some particles in the area, the material like stainless steel or glass will be used, so that it can be easily cleaned and it will not have the corrosion due to cleaning and disinfection process. So such type of materials will be selected. There should not be any holes or pores in which the accumulation of dirt or dust is possible, this or cracks, these things will be avoided. And most important is the entry in the clean rooms should be prevented or controlled. Only few peoples or the higher authorities or the personnel, those who are allowed in this particular area, these are only having the entry in the clean room. So by this we can have the control in the clean rooms. Second point is the control of contamination which is occurring due to the people. Now as we have seen that skin, hair or hands or mouth, nose, these are the major sources of contamination. So for this purpose we should have a protective clothing to the people, those who are working in the aseptic area, and the personal hygiene training should be given to the persons. Then they are supposed to maintain this personal hygiene throughout when they are working. If there are any cuts or lesion, these should be informed, and such peoples are not supposed to enter. Then there should not be any eating, drinking, and along with this minimal talk in the aseptic area should be maintained. That is, no talk, no talk should be the main objective, but still we, if we are supposed to talk, then minimal talking is allowed in such type of areas. Then there should not be no whistling or singing, or we are not supposed to take any paper or any material inside, because the paper or cardboards are having the shedding of the particles and which will be behaving as a source of contamination. And if we are supposed to take something, then it should be having such material that it should not behave as a contaminant. Along with this, one more important thing is we should not have any type of cosmetics, jewelry, watch or coins. These should be kept in the changing room itself. We should not carry them into the aseptic area. Then proper training should be given to the persons, those who are working in the aseptic area, and we are not supposed to touch to the other operators. Then there should not be any scratching or touching to the nose and rubbing of the hands. And always we should have the protective clothing. This protective clothing involves use of mask, head cap, then gloves, and these gloves are made up of a particular different material. The powder coated gloves are not used in this type of areas. Here the rubber gloves will be used so that it can be easily cleaned and disinfected afterwards. The next point comes is the control of contamination by having cleaning and disinfection. For this particular point, we have to consider that the cleaning and disinfection procedures should be followed strictly and exactly how they are meant. If they are saying in a SOP, whatever is there in the standard operating procedure of cleaning and disinfection, the same should be followed by the people, those who are having the duty of cleaning and disinfection, and the personnel, those who are having this role, these are trained properly for the SOP, and it will be supervised by the other supervisor that whether that particular person is working exactly or not. Along with this SOP, the main requirement is whatever we are having, first cleaning compulsory and then the disinfection, and whatever liquid material we are using for disinfection, the dilution should be made fresh. It should not be stored priorly, and the priorly diluted material we are using for disinfection, this should not be happening. As well as if something is there flooded on the floor, then it should be covered up and it will be along mixed with the disinfectant, and then it will be thrown, because sometimes the liquid may be acting as a source of contamination in the aseptic area. Then next point comes is the cleaning. Cleaning should not be done with the mops, or we should not have use of mops for disinfection also. We should go for use of vacuum dryers and vacuum cleaners for cleaning of the material. That is, the dust cleaning should be done by using the vacuum cleaners, and too much of liquid or too much of dilution should be avoided. And during this cleaning and disinfection, whatever disinfectant is used, its proper dilution is required. And after this, after disinfection, we should not have the mopping once again, so this will be uh, reverting the situation to cleaning. The disinfection will be reverted. So to avoid this, we should not, after disinfection, we should not have the drying of the floor with the help of mop or something else. We should allow it to air dry. Okay, this will be done by having the cleaning and disinfection. Then next part comes is the training on the sterilization. Whenever we are having the sterilization, then we should know for which type of material, which type of sterilization we are supposed to use. That we have discussed in the sterilization already. So here, every person, those who are performing the sterilization, then these should be trained on this particular sterilization process, as well as the persons are required to follow the exact procedures, whatever is there in SOP, the same as it is, exactly it will be followed. Along with this exact procedures, we have to check the sterility testing. That is, we have to have a control over the sterilization. Suppose we are having the filtration of liquids, and here along with the filtration we are having the sterilization of the liquid, then we should check the integrity of the filters. Like that, we have to have a check on the sterilization process as well. Then if something unusual happens during this sterilization, then it should be properly recorded what was happened, how it has happened, what was the possible cause. If we know the cause, then the cause of that particular thing, the proper recording, proper documentation is required, as well as after sterilization, whatever things or products are there, these should not be mixed with the prior products. Sterilized material should be stored separately so that it cannot have a once again procedure, or sometime although we have sterilized and we have kept in the non-sterile products, so it may get contaminated or it may not be sterile due to the other material. So we have to avoid such type of things to have a control on the contamination. Thank you.